Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to look at season 2 of Breaking Bad. So in this season, Walter and Jesse are continuing with their meth business. Meanwhile, Tuco from season 1 is still out and about, and Walter's wife Skylar starts to become suspicious of his activities outside the house. Now, it's debatable on whether or not this is better than season 1. I've seen a lot of people saying that season 2 is kind of the low point of the show, not in a bad way, but in the sense that it's the weakest out of all the seasons. And honestly, I have to agree that season 1 was slightly better. It's still a fantastic season, but some seasons have to be better than others. That's how it works. So as I forgot to mention in my season 1 review, Walter White later adapts the pseudonym Heisenberg, his drug kingpin name if you will, and in this season he is taking the next few steps towards becoming Heisenberg. And towards the latter half of the season, his actions have huge consequences on what unfolds in those episodes. Jesse is able to afford his own apartment now due to the success of the meth business, and that's where he meets Jane, and their relationship is interesting. Walter and Skylar's daughter, Holly, is born in this season, and while beginning to raise her, Skylar gets very suspicious about Walter and suspects that, he might be cheating on her or something like that. Who knows? Tuco from season 1 is back, and even though he isn't in the season all that much, I always look forward to seeing him on screen. And speaking of Tuco is a member of the Salamanca family, and in this season we're introduced to his uncle, Hector Salamanca. He sits in a wheelchair and he cannot speak, and he only uses a bell to communicate, so every time he uses the bell to communicate, whatever scene he's in can get very suspenseful because of that. This season also introduced us to Saul Goodman, a criminal lawyer who resorts to criminal tactics in order to satisfy his clients. And he actually has his own spin-off called Better Call Saul. He really is that iconic of a character to the extent that he deserves his own show. It should be on Netflix wherever you are. Go check it out when you're done with Breaking Bad. Saul has a private investigator and cleaner by the name of Mike. Mike is only in, I think, 1 episode in this season. You'll see more of him later on in the show, but he will become one of your absolute favorite characters. Meanwhile, Hank, Walter's brother-in-law, is investigating the whereabouts and identity of Heisenberg, and he begins to develop PTSD in the process, and that was really interesting. But let's not forget one of the standout characters of Breaking Bad who is introduced in this season, and that's Gus Fring. Gus is played by Giancarlo Esposito. Walter seeks help from him when it comes to the distribution of the meth, and this season really lays the groundwork for that, and I liked our introduction to Gus. I like the fact that he runs a fast food restaurant by the name of Los Polos Hermanos, I believe that's how you pronounce it. This season had some of the most memorable opening scenes of the show. There's one that is essentially a music video, and it's a piece of promotion that Walter uses to promote his meth. And I think there's one drug deal that all takes place in a single shot or something like that. I can't remember it, but it was cool. And some episodes opened with what appeared to be underwater sequences, and they either had like pink fur or an eye that belonged to a product or something like that, like a toy, and they were foreshadowings in terms of what was to come in the latter half of the season. If you've watched the show, you know what I'm talking about. And the finale did a great job in laying the groundwork for season 3 and putting the characters in interesting scenarios and situations, and ended on one hell of a cliffhanger. Now, even though I enjoyed the season, I will say that after the first couple of episodes, the season really starts to drag in places. It does pick up in the last 2 or 3 episodes, but there's no denying that in the middle it can be kind of a slog. And that's because this is the first season to include 13 episodes rather than just 7. It felt like they were having trouble, stretching the material out to that many episodes, and it kind of shows. But that aside, everything else is fine. So yeah, that was my review of Season 2 of Breaking Bad. It's still a great season, even though it's not as good as Season 1 in my opinion. Next time, we're gonna look at Season 3, and that's where things really start to get interesting. So thank you all for watching. Please be sure to like the video, share it and subscribe, and hit the notification icon. Be safe during this time, and I'll see you soon.